Oh, you could feel it in the air today in Colorado. Did you feel it? The democracy? Yeah, it seemed like it was drizzle, but it was actually democracy in the air. I need you to just follow me, okay? Week from today, you're going to have your ballot in your hands. Inside will be a language that appears to be English, but makes none of the sense of English. It's why we really want you to understand the ballot issues that could change our state. Amendment 73 is particularly perplexing, so our Marshall Zellinger's along with that. And Marshall 73 increases education funding, and understanding this requires some quick English and math lessons.
Yeah, I was pretty good at math at one time. You know, third grade, the game around the world, the flashcard goes over the teacher's head. You had to beat somebody else, go around the room. That was around the world. I was good at that. But this, a little confusing. Is raising a tax rate 4.63% to 6% the same as increasing it 1.37%? Well, that's an issue Amendment 73 is talking about, but does it say what it really means? If all you did before you vote is read Amendment 73, no blue book, no outside help, this is what you'll see. And in it are a lot of numbers and percentages. Here's what you need to know. Amendment 73 would raise money for preschool through 12th grade in a few ways, including raising the state income tax rate on people who make more than $150,000 in taxable income, and by raising the corporate income tax rate on businesses.
The problem is that voters probably aren't going to have an accurate picture of what they're voting on if they just read the ballot title language.
Luke Ragland works with the group against Amendment 73 that caught what might be bad English or bad math. For instance, Amendment 73 says it will increase the corporate income tax rate by 1.37%. That's different than 1.37 percentage points. Increasing 4.63% by 1.37% gets you to 4.7%.
I'd love to see ballots corrected and sent out with a more accurate description of the tax increase.
Making a change like that after 3 million ballots have been printed, that's just not something that we're going to do.
The Secretary of State's office explained to us how these all-caps ballot titles get approved and scrutinized.
What typically happens at title board is opponents and proponents can come in and talk about how they want the language to read. In this case, the proponent came in. We set the ballot title based on the information that we had and the conversation with the proponent, and then no one ever challenged it.
In the Blue Book, the amendment is described more clearly, twice. Increases the corporate tax rate from 4.63% to 6%.
Really, if people want to get more information about this measure, the place to do that is the Blue Book.
I think voters need to be able to rely on reading the actual paragraph of text that's on the ballot itself to get the full picture and to get an accurate picture.
Well, guess what? Amendment 73 is not the only thing that is referenced like this. Proposition 110, the state sales tax increase for road funding, also says increasing by 0.62% when it really means 0.62 percentage points. So, Kyle, all those political attorneys are going to be ready just in case these pass.
That's wild. People are asking for a reprint. We should remind people, if you want straight talk on what's on your ballot, our voter guide is live on 9news.com.
And it's combine that with the Blue Book, you'll be set.
Yep, you're going to have more info than you know what to do with. All right, thank you, Marshall. Colorado's candidates for governor have been debating left and right lately. That is a pun. They also really have been debating frequently as of late. They've finished 4 of their 8 scheduled debates. Last night's debate down in Pueblo wasn't televised or streamed online, but we thought that you should see the top 5 moments.
Number 5, Republican Walker Stapleton's cringeworthy attempt to criticize Democrat Jared Polis's support for marijuana taxes going to schools. He references Polis's 7- and 4-year-old children.
Does that mean you tell your kids to smoke weed for schools? Is that the idea?
Number 4, Polis tries to blunt Stapleton's critique he's radical and extreme by defending Democratic Governor John Hickenlooper from the same charge. You should know Polis and Hick have hardly been allies.
Well, you know, again, it's just more divisive partisan rhetoric. I think in his opening sentence, Walker called Governor Hickenlooper radical and extreme. Governor Hickenlooper's a lot of things, but I don't think radical and extreme are 2 adjectives that apply to him or apply to me whatsoever.
Number 3. Stapleton tries to scrub the Trump off. After running in the Republican primary as the president's bestie, Stapleton knows now he best established some distance.
But I also will distance myself on issues that I don't think are going to benefit Colorado. It's why I stood up with farmers and ranchers and why I was endorsed by the Colorado Farm Bureau, because I was concerned about tariffs and their impact on Colorado's economy.
Number 2, Stapleton finally finds a tagline that might stick to Polis, who is promising all kinds of programs.
I'm here tonight to tell you that free is really expensive. And the more loose...
And number 1, it's the essence of the race. Can Polis pay for his promises? Or can Stapleton be painted as a man without a plan?
That sounds really cool. How do you pay for it? Congressman Polis has talked about solar-powered motorcycles. He's talked about a Hyperloop. The fact is the Hyperloop has only worked at the ATM drive-thru. It has never worked beyond that.
Listening to Walker is such a Debbie Downer, like, no, we can't do this. Here's why we can't do that. Listen, the reason I'm in public service, my motto when I first ran was dream, dare, do.
A sampling of last night's debate in Pueblo. There wasn't a single media outlet in Colorado willing to publish a misleading attack being pushed by supporters of Walker Stapleton. So a PAC backing Stapleton just fabricated a news headline, slapped a 9 News logo on it, and mailed it out to voters. It is a pathetic and desperate move by the group supporting Stapleton for governor. The 9 News logo on this mailer sits above a blaring headline falsely claiming that Jared Polis assaulted an employee. Actually, you know that we fact-checked that claim and explained how police and prosecutors decided that Polis was the victim in that 1999 case. Voters aren't fooled. They tipped us off to this misleading mailer. It comes from the pro-Stapleton group Better Colorado Now. It's run by Andy George, whose business partner is Stapleton's campaign manager. The pro-Stapleton folks were really mad when I debunked their assault smear. And you know, that's fine. We're adults. My job as a journalist is to tell the truth and stand by it. Their job is to take rich people's money, burn through it with misleading ads, and then whine about journalists when their candidate is still trailing in the polls. That's just how the game is played. It's also why we can't do a thing when they take a clip from our air and use it out of context in a TV ad. But at least then, political operatives aren't fabricating whole news headlines. This stuff from the pro-Stapleton folks, it is a special kind of desperate. Bashing journalists when it suits them, faking news headlines with our logo when they could use our credibility. They are so desperate for credibility at this point, I almost want to lend them a little. Almost. May I make a recommendation? This is where I point you to something, anything that is not ours but is worth your time. There is a Houston Chronicle crime and justice reporter who's taking a look at a case out of Colorado that went all the way to the Supreme Court. I should mention this reporter, she's a felon. She acknowledges that straight up, and that experience informs her coverage. This case is about solitary confinement in Colorado. The journalist is Carrie Blackinger. She looks at an opinion written by Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. It's the case of 3 prisoners from Colorado who are kept in solitary without outdoor recreation for 11 months. They lost their case, but the reporter highlights Justice Sotomayor's unusually detailed criticism of the practice of locking people up with no outdoor time. The reporter then talks about her own unseen scars from confinement. Perhaps you remember the solitary procedures that were being challenged here in Colorado were eventually eliminated by the state. We've retweeted the Chronicle reporter's thread on the next Twitter account.
We've promised you uncomfortable honesty.
You doubt your body, and you don't trust that your body is capable of carrying and growing a baby when you've lost a baby.
And Next Viewer publicly shares the story that many women choose to keep private. Winter is coming. What does that mean for Denver's army of scooters?
I think riders are going to have to make their own choices if they want to ride an electric scooter in the winter months.
Some of the scooter companies think they have a strategy for snow. Please let it be tiny plows. Next.
Okay, no problem. Everybody follow me.
Get ready for a gnarly ride. This dude rips.
I'm Jacques Huot. They call me Frenchy. I am 41 years old. Each leg, equal 82.
82 years old. Jacques keeps moving. Sure, he can ride, but his charisma is what got the attention of Carbondale filmmaker Michelle Smith.
Oh, I love Michelle. Too bad she's married.
5 Point Film Festival's Night of Stoke is the kind of evening you rock chacos instead of heels. Jacques,
the love of your life.
Michelle, and Jacques' new friend are in the house for a screening of Michelle's film, The Frenchie, a tale too big for one person to tell.
You know, you meet somebody like that, and it's like, I'm not afraid to get old.
For that, I'm glad I motivate people to keep moving.
I identify as Panamanian and African American, but at the end of the day, I'm just human.
I identify as the Latina Asian.
I identify as Puerto Rican and Mexican.
I identify as a Chicana.
I identify as Mexican American.
I identify as Colombian American.
I identify myself as Honduran.
I identify as Mexican American.
And I identify as Salvadorian.
I identify as Colombian Palestinian.
I identify as Chicana. At the end of the day.
But at the end of the day.
I am just human.
Too often we fall into this, there's this side and there's this side. Well, you know what? Sometimes this side isn't telling the truth, and we should be saying that. It's important to hear things you don't agree with because it is the single best way to test your own beliefs. It's a sign of thoughtfulness to hear a perspective that you disagree with and to say, you know what? I hadn't considered that. That's a really good point. I want to give you a fresh perspective, something that you haven't thought of. It doesn't matter if you agree. It just matters that we listen to each other.
Get to know the Johnsons 5 nights a week.
How about I give you $100?
No, 200, and you agree not to have any more children.
Okay, that's a decision I have. No.
A traditional family.
I'm here to help.
You're not Mom.
Where's Mom?
And an unconventional comedy.
I think you look good for your age, Dad.
40's not bad, right?
You're only 40? Good Lord, you've lived a hard life.
Weekdays starting at 5 p.m. on Channel 20.
Get insider info and everything you need to know about what's going on in Broncos country. Watch the Broncos Huddle Wednesday nights at 6:30 on 9 News.
Winter weather already here up in the high country. They saw some snow earlier today. We'll be waiting on another system pushing in late tonight into early tomorrow morning. For now, most of the snow across the far eastern plains. That'll wind down later this evening with a few isolated flurries going across the Denver metro area. But tonight it's all about the cold here in the city as overnight lows dip into the 20s across the metro area, the eastern plains. So much so that we do have a freeze warning in effect tonight. So keep that in mind. It's going to last till about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning for much of eastern Colorado. Here we are about 10 o'clock tonight. A few isolated showers going around the metro area, but by early tomorrow morning, that next wave arrives, and that delivers some pretty heavy snow to the high country. We will see some of that early tomorrow. That could slow down the early morning drive into work or school. By the afternoon, most of the snow moves out. 6, 7 o'clock, everything starts to wind down, and that system moves out after potentially delivering upwards of 4 to 8 inches to the high country. Daytime highs tomorrow in the 30s and 40s. Another cool gray day on our hands. We're back to the 40s Thursday. 59 never looked so good with all that sunshine. And then, Kyle, keeping a close eye on Sunday. It looks interesting.
You would keep a close eye, Danielle Grant. All right.
Always.
Thank you. Denver is dotted with 1,400 of those new ride-share scooters. Ride-share scooters. That was dangerous right there. So when snow flies, and that that could be soon, all those scooters going to get outfitted with these tiny little plows on the front, or what? Our Noel Brennan takes a look.
Currently, we have Lime, Bird, Lift, and Razor.
They moved in suddenly over summer. Denver's newest crop of transplants.
I believe that brings a grand total to about 1,400 scooters that have launched, if I did my math right.
Scooters were looking lonely on a drizzly day. Wonder how they'll feel in snow.
I think riders are going to have to make their own choices if they want to ride an electric scooter in the winter months.
The city says the same rules for scooters will apply in winter. Companies will still have to move scooters to light rail and bus stops.
Getting them out of the snow and then rebalancing them every day throughout the day.
Bird says it's launching Bird Zero, a more rugged, reliable, and stable scooter for winter. Lyft will have scooters year-round, it says, weather permitting, and may not deploy in adverse weather. Spin, which hopes to launch in Denver soon, says its scooters will work in 0-degree weather and will have wider tires in the future. Denver will find out if its newest residents survive winter.
It's a new mobility option for Denver, so there's going to be a learning curve for everybody.
For Next, I'm Noel Brennan.
All right, let's play What Do You Say? This time, we head down south to the Pike and San Isabel National Forest. We're looking for a mountain, a name that starts with an S. This is a place name that I have mispronounced on our air. Vicky, Diane, Derek all wrote in thinking perhaps I could use some professional help. So we called the fine folks at the San Isabel National Forest to ask, what do you say?
Chavano is how I would say it's pronounced. It's a Ute tale, and the Angel of Chavano actually involves a Ute princess whose people were starving because of a drought. And legend has it that her body appears every year on the mountain, slowly melting away, that provides water that was needed in the valley that season.
Every now and then we stumble on an incredible story like that playing this game. So there you have it, Mount Chavano. When the snow begins to melt come spring, that's the best time to see the outline of the Angel of Chavano. All right, what other place names have you heard mangled on the news? What words do you say one way and people say another way? You pick the place, we'll go. Email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag #HeyNext.
Hope after loss.
Keep going, keep trying, just don't give up.
A Next viewer talks about her miscarriages so that others don't feel so alone. And it would appear that telling drivers they've crossed a line is nothing new. Check out this antique next.
It's almost like a religion of thought.
Leave shadows on the clouds.
Look to the heavens, lines in the sky that captivate conspiracy theorists. Chemtrails, followers convinced something evil and secret is going on.
I can hear you now. Why are we wasting time on this? Social media has become fertilizer for this conspiracy. Recent surveys indicate 1 in 5 Americans believe in this theory. So I could see a line in the sky.
Yes,
right
2 of them.
Right,
They do tend to put them in front of the sun, which makes sense if they're trying to block sunlight.
What do you think is going on up there?
Well, what they say is that this is sort of a desperate measure to counteract global warming.
Zadnik is quick to say he doesn't trust the government. Can you blame the guy? After all, our government doesn't really have the greatest track record when it comes to telling the truth. Agent Orange, the Tuskegee syphilis study, the human plutonium injection experiments. I can go on and on. That's the government. But what about science? What is that white line in the sky behind a plane?
Well, the white line behind a jet is a natural process that goes on with the relationship between the aerodynamics of the aircraft in the atmosphere.
They won't even say that word. Scientifically, they're called condensation trails. Contrails for short.
So what you're really doing is you're sort of artificially generating a cloud.
So what we see up there is not the government intentionally putting chemicals into the sky for geoengineering.
No.
There's no accepted scientific evidence whatsoever that proves a covert program is real. Based on our highly credible experts and scientific approach to chemtrails, we can verify the chemtrail conspiracy is false.
These girls are too much.
Can I have your attention, everyone? That depends. Are you a cat video? Too funny. Here's your fish of the day. That day is last Monday. Too wild. Together. Caroline's got a date tonight. It's not a joke. I'm really going on a date.
Stop it! Oh my gosh, I'm gonna pee!
2 broke girls.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
Don't take your health for granted. Get in-depth medical information that your doctor can trust at a fraction of the price. No appointment needed. Choose from new screenings including heart health and blood type. Own your health. Find your fair at 9healthfair.org.
When a baby dies before birth, dreams are also lost. Parents say goodbye to a person that they had hoped to grow to know. It's an intensely devastating and personal experience for families, an experience that a Next viewer named Lauren Wilson asked if she could share here. so that other parents know they're not alone.
Sit down. Yeah. Okay. People tell you everything happens for a reason. People tell you at least it was early. People tell you you can always have another baby. It's a lot of kind of shoving it under the rug and not necessarily acknowledging that that was a wanted baby. I've lost 2 babies, one at around 6 weeks, the other at around 8 weeks. My husband and I had been trying for a while, and that attachment starts once you decide that you want to have a baby. And when you lose that baby that you desperately want and that you've been hoping and dreaming for, it's horrible. Take as long as you need to grieve. Take as long as you need to be sad and to cry. Talk about it. There is hope and that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I just had my beautiful little girl 3 weeks ago, and it was the hardest thing and the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me. So there's hope. Keep going, keep trying, just don't give up. She was born September 15th, 2018, 6 pounds, 12 ounces. She is a little joy. We just love her so much, and she is just a blessing in our lives.
Since the 1980s, October has been designated as a month to share stories like that one. Just so happens we've been talking with Lauren for months throughout her pregnancy. She decided that now, a few weeks after the birth of her daughter, was the right time to tell her story. We did not set out to become Colorado's parking monitor, but you people seem to love telling drivers you've crossed a line. So you know what? We'll keep doing it. Why not? Today, though, a different type of story. No cars or lines, really, just a message in all caps. It says, "Thanks for taking 2 parking spaces. I had to park 2 blocks away, you stupid, inconsiderate moron." They really talked to people like that back in the day? Jim Prue from Lakewood sent this to us. He found it in the basement of an old building that he's fixing up. He thinks the message has been there for about 50 years or so. So how about that? Decades ago, people were still parking like ignoramuses. You can email your own example to next@9news.com or give us a shout with the hashtag #HeyNext. You also love a moment of zen, perhaps after parking, so we'll offer you that and feedback next.
If you want to improve your production skills or you're just starting out, Denver Open Media can help. Classes include production, studio, editing, graphics, and animation. Learn what it takes to make your own studio show with a full crew. Learn how to properly use lights, camera, and sound. Finish editing your short film or create your own graphics. Denver Open Media is a terrific resource for you to turn your idea into a reality. Sign up today at denveropenmedia.org.
Sideline Stories with Jim Sacamano, Saturday nights at 9:30 on Channel 20.
Which one of you is horny? How did I get here? My mom was horrible and drove me to drink, which led to drugs. Remember me? But I cleaned up my act. Wish I hadn't spit in his latte. For that glamorous... You look like a slutty highlighter. Single mom life. Why aren't you wearing pants? I was relaxing. And now I'm back here, living with my mom.
That changes everything. You deserve a cupcake.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
At camp, we believe all children should have superpowers, like the power to feel safe and the power to be protected. But each year in Colorado, thousands of children are victims of child abuse and neglect. You can help by supporting CAMP in their efforts to prevent child abuse. CAMP treats abused children, trains professionals, and conducts research to ensure a healthy and hopeful future for these innocent victims. Learn more at KEMPE.org and give a child the power to be a kid again.
To keep you and your family safe, it's important to be cautious.
Keep your house safe by closing the windows, the main door, and the garage door. Keep your valuables in your car safe by never leaving anything visible. Choose a well-traveled route when taking a walk. And be aware of your surroundings when using an ATM. It's that easy to be safe. It's up to you. And for your safety, you have them to protect and serve you, the Denver Police Department.
There are heroes among us. They don't fly or bend steel or ride off into the sunset. They simply volunteer to look after someone else's health by providing comfort, lending a hand, or simply keeping us on track. Everyone's health needs a hero. Who will you look out for?
Find out how you can participate in improving our health. Visit iparticipate.org.
You've asked for more moments of Zen around here. Can do. Maybe you remember Dustin Shavar. He's the next viewer who emailed us from his hospital bed after a heart attack. Young guy in his 30s. He told us he was ready to just get back out and be active again. Well, he is, and he sent us peaceful picture proof from Rocky Mountain National Park. Oh, that's nice. Your feedback now. Casey is still mad that I won't cover the assault smear against Jared Polis from the 1999 incident. Casey writes, misleading smear translates to reading the police report for anyone who doesn't know. Here's the deal. Casey and his friends are mad that police and prosecutors decided that Jared Polis was the victim in that altercation, but they don't have the courage to criticize law enforcement, so instead they criticize the journalists who pass it along to you here. Stephen writes in, Kyle got a little salty. I like it. Hold them accountable. I might have gotten salty a couple times, Stephen, but you know what? I don't know. Spice of life, right? See you next time.